Hello, Instagrammers and Facebook, everybody basically. I haven't been doing my lives for a little while, for 2 weeks, because I've been on holiday. But I am now back, and today I'm going to be talking about what is enough money, because obviously we deliver funded training, and a lot of people come to me who are hair or beauty educators or educators that already have a private offer and they're already selling that, and they want to be able to add a government funded stream to their business or a government funded revenue to their business, whether that is to upskill their own workforce and use government money, or to actually deliver some kind of training online, which is, or in person, to their audience or the people that they work with. And that's where they want to go. They want to prepare themselves to approach colleges or to approach other training providers. And that's what I teach. So for me, it's one of the questions that I always ask people when they very first come into my world and we do any form of coaching is, what type of income do they want? But not just that, what have they already got at the moment on a monthly basis, and what profit is their business making? And it really surprises me how so many people don't have those figures. And don't get me wrong, I'm dishing that, because at one time I was the same. Do you know what I mean? But I think very much in a very, very start of any business, from naught to the million mark, what your main focus is, how to have an offer, have that offer. Okay, so have that thing that you sell. Okay, I'll show you in a minute. Actually, my little I'll show you my little diagram. So if I grab it here, if you can see that, I'll move it around. So have your product, and then the next thing you need to do. So once you know what you're selling, I don't know if people can see that. Then what is your unique selling point? Then how are you going to market it? How are you going to sell it? And then how are you going to deliver it? So they're the things in business that you need to have in your space. And so many people don't really know what they actually want. So then what happens is because in business, for me, one of the biggest things is when it gets difficult, you need to be very clear on what you're trying to achieve. So mine was always, I wanted to create a life, a business that would live on forever and would actually empower creative minds. And the reason that I had that thing in my mind was because I'm very much an ADHD. Well, if you were going to label me, I've got ADHD, they always say, but I'm entrepreneurial, which means that I've always wanted to create something that's going to be value to other people and to see that grow and to see them develop because of that product. So I've always wanted to do that. That's always been something. And when I very first started out, it was nails. So then I had my own business, and what I did was I delivered nail services as a business. And then obviously then I started my training business, and the reason I developed my training business was because what was happening is I just couldn't get people to come and work in my salon that were very well trained or fit for purpose. I often find they went to the local college, they would do a course, they'd come in, they couldn't sell it wasn't just the fact that they could do the treatment, but they couldn't actually market and sell it, which meant that it was a lot of time and effort for me to get them to do that. I would grow their client base and then they would up and leave. So we used to get really frustrated. So I thought there must be a way of making money out of this. And that's when I came to this. But in my mind, I always had a figure that I wanted to achieve. And mine initially was a set amount of money. However, I did get to that point where I was earning that money, and I had it was an okay lifestyle. It was, but I was still doing a lot in the business at that point. I didn't feel as if I could step back. So one of my aspirations was to step back from the business. So I knew that to be able to do that, I needed to generate X amount of pounds so I could employ people that could do the things that I was doing, so I didn't have to do it. So I always say to people, what is your money goal and where do you see it going? Because Tony Robbins always speaks about, People underestimate or overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in 10. And that's because it's always consistency. We're always, if you do things slowly, you will eventually get there. So an example is losing weight. I mean, how many of us have started some kind of health program where we've gone to the gym, we've started eating healthily, we do it for 2 or 3 weeks and we don't get the results quick enough. So what we do is we give up. And I feel that is because there is not an end goal. So an example would be when I did it. So like for me, when my daughter was getting married a few years ago in 2019, I'd yo-yo diet. I never really got to my goal. But then when I knew that we were going to be in pictures and I'd have those pictures forever of her wedding and I wanted it to look the part, I had a goal then. And guess what? In that time, I lost over, I think it was about £18. Now, guess what? I put that weight back on again because then I got comfortable because there were some things I still hadn't put in place. So I had that consistency of getting there, but I hadn't worked on my head. And that's what I need to do next. So like now my goal is to be fit and healthy and to live till I'm in my late 90s and have a decent life. So guess what? Now I've got a really clear goal of where I want to get to, but I've had to put some short-term goals in there as well. So for me, we're going on holiday to the Maldives in September, so I want to be able to lose weight for that. But Christmas, I'm back in Tenerife with some friends, so I want to have that. And next year, I am thinking about doing something really big, which would be renewing our wedding vows with my husband. So now I've already got a goal. So now it's like I've got something to head for. Okay. So I think someone gave me this tip and I thought I'd share it with you is what are your money goals? So if you were to think about what your income is that you've got at the moment, what your outgoings are currently at the moment in your business and also in your personal life, what are they? And even if you're starting some kind of course and you're not in business at the moment and you're thinking to yourself, I don't know what I want. I mean, I've sat down next to people and they've said to me, I want to make 100,000 million pound. I go, but why? What is the reason that you want to make that money? Because you can make 4,500 and have a 4.5 million and have a fantastic life and go on boats and go on. I mean, I've seen people in the sector and in my industry on the online world that have managed to do those things and have an okay life and they're enjoying it because they're spending time with their family and their friends and they're not working day in day out. It's the same with me. I've got my business to a certain point where I don't physically have to do day-to-day operations. There's things I choose to do, but I don't have to actually go and do the training, etc. But things like this, I really love and I really enjoy imparting my experience. That's something that lights me up inside. Would I want to do it forever? Probably not. I've got end goals of when I want to exit, and I also know what that income goal would be when I get there, how much I want to sell the business for, and then what I would need to live on a basis. And it probably won't be the same amount of money that I'm living on now because there'll be a lot of things taken out of the equation that I don't have to pay for anymore because ultimately you are in a different point in your life. Okay. So I think what a lot of people do, they chase money. Okay. So they're chasing at the 10, I want to get to 10 grand. I want to get to 20 grand. I want to get to 30 grand. I want to get to 50 grand. I want to get to 60 grand. And we actually sometimes lose focus on actually what we want. And then when times get hard, we start to begrudge those things, as in, we start to begrudge the business. We fall out of love with it. And an example for me was back in 2020 when we went into COVID. I really was at a point that I could have easily given up the business. I was sick of it. I was like, I've got to this point where I've worked really hard all my life and I'm not where I want to be financially. Why don't I go and get a job in the city, become, like get on a board somewhere and earn 130, 140 grand a year doing that? Because with my experience, I feel I could have done that. But there was something stopping me, and it all went back to what I was trying to achieve, that purpose. So they call it Um, it's one of the main things when people talk to you about what they want to create as purpose. But ultimately, I think that needs to be broken down in little small goals. And even when you're delivering funded training, like it's not an easy thing to achieve. So unless you actually, I mean, the reason I wanted to be able to deliver funded training is because I realized that a lot of the people I wanted to help would not be able to pay for the courses that I want to deliver. So this made it an easier way for those people to be able to get hold of that money through me. So that's the type of thing. Okay. So would you trade time for money? Okay. So like if one of your goals is to spend time with your family, you need to replace yourself in that business. So what you don't want to do is do something that's going to take you away from that time for a long period of time. Now, it may be at the beginning you've got to put a lot of time and effort into it. So very much at the beginning of any business, you're going to be exchanging time for money because you've got to, because you can't afford to take anybody on at that point. And also you're developing your product, and you're also developing how you're going to market and sell that business, sell that product. So there is a lot of time that you have to put it in. But what does that look like long term, and how far do you want to scale your business? So, there are some people that want to build it 10 million, 20 million, 30 million, and that's absolutely fine. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. What I'm saying is there's always going to be some kind of sacrifice somewhere for being able to do that stuff. And what does that look like? And are there quicker ways of being able to do it rather than actually physically having to build that business from scratch? So there's things where you can go and buy other people's businesses and pop that into your business, and then you can put use some of their good stuff, use some of your good stuff, and then make your business bigger so that it makes money, and also bring in assets like a team member that you probably don't already employ who would be good at that thing. So there's a lot of things to really think about. So, what season are you in? Are you in a growth season? Are you in a stability? Are you in reinvention or a legacy? So, like, whereabouts do you see yourself? So, if you're in a growth stage, that's all about sales and marketing. Stability is about making sure that the team that you've got in there can deliver to the same processes, systems, and all of those. So, that's what I call when I talk about the next stage. And then the scalability is duplicating your model, because once you get to that model, you can literally duplicate it over and over again if your product is scalable. And that's the question. Okay. So I think people have really, really got to know exactly what that is. And the way that I did it is I wrote down all my outgoings that I currently had and needed. Okay. Then I looked at the things I would like to do. So, how many holidays do I want to have a year? So, say for instance, I want 6 holidays, which I do. I always want to be traveling at least 6 times a year somewhere. And I want to take a week out once a month now. That's what I look to do, because that replenishes me for the next 3 weeks that I have to work. So, for me, it was, what does that look like financially? Like, if I want to go, I don't know, if I want to go on holiday to the Maldives, which I'm going to go, that's going to cost me this amount of money a year. So I try and juggle the holidays. So I might have a nearer holiday or a few nearer holidays that don't cost me so much. So for us, we already bought some property, or we bought some stuff abroad so that we could go and use that with just buying the flights. And then I've got ways that I've been able to generate that income to be able to do that. So these are all things that I want you to do. And I wrote it all down, and then it made it very clear of where I was now. So this is where I want now. So what extra revenue do I need to produce on a monthly basis that's reoccurring, that will come in? And that's how I used government money, because I thought, right, because that's what I call my bread and butter. That's going to come in every month, no matter what, because once I've done it, it's just delivering that product. Okay. My online stuff, is more sort of like once monthly. So I put people on, they do the course and then they leave. They may develop into some of the other stuff, but if they don't, that's finished. They have that initial payment and then that's it. So I think that's one of the questions I think you want to ask. What for you is enough? What type of life do you want, and how are you going to achieve that? So that's only working 2 days a week. How are you going to generate that income in 2 days a week the quickest, etc., and the easiest way? So I thought I'd come and share that today. So I hope you've enjoyed it today. If you've really enjoyed it, come and follow me on Instagram, which is Sarah Abel Funding Godmother, or you can find me on Sarah Hair Beauty, or you can actually find my business, which is TMB Skills Training, and follow me for more information. But I'm also on Facebook and I'm also on YouTube. Speak to you soon.